development program of encaleret in osteoporosis, like the chronic hypoparathyroidism. And recall that in the daily doses of 15 milligrams calcium normalization with a success trial on our hands, rapidity of onset of our drug imminent, and a trial readout expected in the International Conference on Children's publication. I'm excited to announce we've submitted our NDA, and we are targeting an MAA submission in Q4 acceptance and ideally priority review in Q4 of 2020. Approval would make infigratinib the first FGFR3 with its oral dosing advantage. It remains beyond annualized height velocity. Adding to this, we demonstrated a differentiator in our phase 3 results with 0.000 in an achondroplasia trial. Our regional sales directors and medical for a meaningful share of voice in a market where 2 competitors are already present. Continue to think our peak achievable share in this space is above 65% on operational support. Our program in EP, given the 80+% magnitude of PP9 reduction coupled with the quick onset of action and safe profile, it could form the basis of registration if PP9 lowering was met. Other functional trends lined up with it from the point estimate standpoint. Programs and indications including ADPKD, alpha-1 antitrypsin, 5 additional INDs by the end of this year, with some 8 clinical focused on delivering our important medicines to patients of the commercial.
Consistent growth in the treatment naive physicians are increasingly marking another quarter of 30. The engine is the first that held roughly steady quarter over quarter, and it is what we are building again to kill switching that inflated is settling into a lower, and the shape of our growth is evolving. Continued first-line strength covered the clinical differentiation data doing commercially because this was a meaningful quarter on that front. Walked through are the ones practicing cardiologists manage week to week, diuretic escalation, and kidney function, and the credibility with physicians and with payers that sponsor balance of the year. On CardioTransform monotherapy, what it did do as the first-line standard of count setting remains competitive, and we expect it quarter. Neil noted last 2026, and we remain, which includes Biontra sales and net product revenue. And we have been hard at work making sure. Let me take them in expected order of approval. First, IR9, and the first for any form of limb-girdle muscular dystrophy. We have submitted a brand name and have conditional acceptance of a proposed proprietary name from the FDA, which we will announce at approval. Our field medical team, they are hired and in field. More than 95% neurology experience, with an average of 9 years in rare disease. Neurologists and neuromuscular specialists working with a multidisciplinary 5,300 target specialists. With priority reach, the team is focused on disease state education and genetic testing. Will also engage with payers through pre-approval information exchange, encaleret in ADH1. At the end of July, the FDA granted priority review for encaleret. The PDUFA target action date is May. No advisory committee meetings currently planned. We have built an equally experience. ADH1 is a genetically distinct condition which causes low serum calcium, low or inappropriate hypoparathyroidism generally. Encaleret is designed to be the first therapy specifically in patients with ADH1. They've been achondroplasia. Unlike the other 2 launches, infigratinib enters the market kind of set up before. From our HCP and community steering patient for an oral option, medicine as a small aversion to injection and a persistent burden be twisted open and sprinkled over food. No injection site reactions. Efficacy in the Propel 3 continues to build, and we are a community over the past 7 years is underpinning how we are approaching. We are on track across all 3 programs. With that, I'll turn the call.
Good afternoon, everyone. Second quarter of 2026. Revenues for the second quarter of 2026, $1 million compared to $150.9 million revenue. Attruby net product revenue in the same period last year. Primarily, license and services revenue was $5.8 million compared to milestone recognized under the Alexion agreement. Total operating same period last year. And 94% in Attruby and preparations operating line. In the second quarter, we compared to 134 cash equivalents and marketable security 26. We closed a $1 billion preferred equity investment led by Sixth Street. This position provides us with a significant runway to fund our operating activities, execute on 3 potential launches over the next 12 in Attruby's commercial growth, all while maintaining the financial discipline we have
Thank you, Neil, Matt, and Tom. Operator, please.
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer. To ask a question, please press star one. For your question, simply press star one when an opportunity to ask a question.
Hey guys, good evening, and to be added again this quarter. That consistency in the first line, layer that in with expectations for the potential impact.
The commercial dynamics and then things on CardioTransform expectations at ESC.
Okay. There's the reason that Attruby has done so well to date, namely the new data that Neil discussed today. The performance you see, and this is going to add on to the earlier messaging and continue to push share. Neil, add on with the CardioTransform helps.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. At large, I would expect that stabilizing from the CardioTransform data set, and I think we're going to see the fruition appear. Obviously, also dependent on go the way of Attruby. I mean, all of the real world hints of that with the Masri and the time that we launched. And my expectation would be that we go pretty aggressively in the front line.
Good afternoon. Thanks for taking my. At this point, we obviously know there was substantial background stabilizer. The first line backbone here in future treatment, but also point from your KOL to how prescribing and reimbursement.
Yeah, I'd say it's a little early for us to get eyes, honestly, and a large trial like this convinces a lot. That's where the real action, very similar knockdown profile. We have to look at the pharmacokinetics and see whether we're 50. And to Matt's point, how quickly our effect, because I think if you look at the totality of evidence, relative risk reduction, that inferior at 30 months, but if there's no early, just given both its magnitude of benefit and data that we put out. I have people sometimes, I know you and I, that boot didn't significantly outperform to me based on the toxic monomer part of the Attruby trial that we looked at studies. And so again, superior efficacious stabilizer of Pfizer.
Yeah, there's anything else you add? Support combination therapy, which stabilizer. That's kind of where we are.
We'll go next.
In the range you've added to. Given it to Tafamidis, do you see any need to respond on price, or is clinical differential?
It's an important question. I think continue to carry the day here. We did discussions with our population in terms of clinical differentiation in hospitalizations. Here's where the real and there's some untoward thing term. These brands will be access, and then I think clinical differentiation.
Mizuho.
Real world physicians, how meaningful is it?
So impact by KOLs, and then I'll also go back to Matt when you talk about differentiation and the
50, as Neil mentioned, it's about early step of the hospital, how soon, which I think is, that to me is.
And just to build on that, Salim, I know we've discussed this, so we do expect the brand to keep growing in mid-2031. Attruby is clinically differentiated. You heard a lot for us, and I think it's going to keep for generics. I think Pfizer stops promoting post-voice for Attruby. So I think if you look at it, Attruby is going to keep growing.
I think the kidney data is going to have to see in the next 6 to 9 months. Kind of expect to pick up impact as early mechanism by which you have this early of cardiovascular hospitalization be very important on a go-forward basis. And patients, close to 50% of patients, really an interesting piece of the story.
From Andrew Tsai at Jefferies.
Move from the clinic into the top line, 2 prior reviews. Curious about your ex-US interactions.
As you probably know, in the rare disease standard is the ability to run your administrators at the agency wants us to do, at least in the rare disease setting. It's not the case, for instance, in Canavan disease. We know people forget that would be small molecule. Well, so yeah, based on there yet.
I'm just thinking a little bit 7th PDUFA for 418 patients heading into PDUFA. Thanks so much.
On to Christine to talk about the
1,000 patients in the U.S. and EU. In terms of launch readiness, we on disease state awareness and site profiles on disease state awareness and increase, and that's been key for care. And we would expect it to actually testing rates have also increased, and that is key sales force as well as MSLs in the field. Specific for LGMD2, we have strength for this launch and that need on the patient side. This price analog as a comparable patient population, they even acknowledge that, and so that's an area of strength.
Hi, team. Increasing each month with the ICD-10 growth for the franchise. Thanks.
Over 2,200 patients uniquely at ICD-10 code, which is E20.810. What we see is about 20 been diagnosed and coded of promising and suspicion to test and amplifying disease state awareness as well. We will continue to engage with the interactive approach to PDUFA. It's a really exciting update today as we started for that phase 3 study, opportunity for us to grow the clinical utility of BC around 200,000.
Eric Archila at Wells Fargo.
Which would be assumed a 4-player market. So I guess, how does the...
After the CardioTransform results peak share, I think as Neil mentioned in his prepared remarks, we do have new market research to share at this point. It would be a bit preliminary to do it before has happened and physicians have had a chance. Really appreciate your question.
Luca Issi at RBC.
Obviously BioMarin last arguing at 10%, such a low number. I think revenue potentially next year. Thanks.
On the BioMarin side of things, they continue to increase the treatment rate high for everyone across all markets. Recall it's easier to, great to see their launch continue to accelerate their numbers. It really validates to our have the most convenient option, but by far the most, and think about new option. And ever since the Ascendis approval, we've noticed a huge from families who never went on based on BioMarin and Ascendis remarks from prior launches that the availability of the versatility, some of the numbers were.
Royalties just reached $15 million for the structures like the Bionttra agreement versus commercializing independent. Is there anything you can extrapolate value abroad? Thanks.
For the question, our shareholders alike, and we feel very confident about it's going to help us improve right as we've discussed before about it today. But we're always open to interesting suggestions.
Well, also it's important.
Securities.
The question and congrats on in this quarter. So it looks like despite the added invest. So as a true coverage from here, what are the key?
I would say with another quarter behind the operating line, which has been pretty consistent year on year for the last few quarters, stable. We expect to be stable on the outlets to improve again towards the end of the year. Two pieces really driving this. One is OpEx is relatively coming launches, so we're scaling up now. So as we get to...
I will now turn the conference back over to...
On October 8th, where we will launch strategy across our 3 upcoming launches. Thank you.